Namaste and welcome from Dhananjaya Kumar. This video in a long series of episodes, Great Minds, Great Quotes. The topic for this video is very interesting, very mysterious yet very obvious. Nature. Now, when the word nature or the idea of nature we think about, we have lots of feelings. We are part of nature. We are connected with nature. Actually, we are in nature. Whenever we want to learn something deep or new, we look at nature. We look at space. We look at earth. We look at water, fire. And we look at our own body, which is created by nature. Many among us humans also want to control nature and win nature, manipulate nature. It's as if nature is something to be controlled and conquered. But that's one kind of mentality. The other is, we look upon nature as the treasure of all knowledge. All knowledge is in nature. We scratch it, scrape it, bit by bit, we feel enriched. Can we ever know all about nature? Perhaps, maybe not, at least not yet. So, the first quotation is by F. David Peat. A mind that remains flexible and sensitive will be in constant process of creative change and will respond to the overall patterns of nature so that the individual can enter into these patterns in new ways. So at each level of mind, we interact with nature differently. And the more we know about nature, the more our mind is elevated. We have deeper, greater knowledge. And with that bigger knowledge, we revisit nature in a new way. So in that sense, nature teaches us and nature makes us return to nature constantly so that we continue to grow and learn and come back to nature. Mahatma Gandhi's view is any number of experiments is too small and no sacrifice is too great for attaining symphony with nature. So the idea of symphony is that within the same composition of music, each instrument has an important role, and only when all the instruments play together, that is music. So we all, each one of us, are instruments in nature, and together we produce the music, the synchronicity, the integration of life and matter, and energy and intelligence. Here is another one by F. David Peat. But before nature can be viewed as an organism, it is first necessary to break the hypnotic hold of causality on our vision. So there are two fundamental concepts here. One is organism. Organism means every part of the system is an element, a piece, a part of the whole organism, whole form, whole life form. Each one, let's say, each one of our cells and atoms has something in its own self. Cells already know how to operate. Atoms know how to behave. But only when millions of atoms and cells come together, they are working in harmony. They are working together to sustain, support, and make possible the existence of the whole organism. And the second part is, it is first necessary to break the hypnotic. Hypnotic means self-deception. You hypnotize yourself and you either know yourself better or you know yourself as someone else. So in hypnosis, first it is better, necessary, to break the hypnotic hold of causality of our vision. Now the idea causality is a very interesting, that one thing can cause the other. One thing causes the other, so this other comes after this one. So I flip a coin and it comes back, so I'm cause of the flipping of the coin, and the coin comes back, and coming back in my palm is an after effect, is the outcome of what I have done. And examples all around, everywhere. And the author calls that a hypnosis, which means that is not real. We think we cause something, but what causes us to cause it? We also think of the whole universe has a causal connection, and that is why we experience time. Something happens, it causes something else to happen, which happens afterwards. So we think the nature is connected or interconnected in a causal manner. One thing produces the other. But this may be hypnosis, because nothing alone can produce anything else. Many things have to join forces, come together to produce the outcome. For example, my flipping the coin requires energy, requires my fingers, my palm, and the coin. And I did not make myself my own body. My body was made by nature. I did not make the coin. So the coin has to exist, I have to exist, I have to have the intention of flipping the coin, and I need the energy and mathematics of how I flip. So what it is suggesting is that there is no single cause of a total event. Many causes, hundreds of thousands of millions of causes produce an event, and that event may influence the cause. So the future may influence the present. What is going to happen or likely to happen influences my action. That is another theory. Similarly, we can influence the past, because when we recollect any past memory, any event, what I experienced at that time is not the same as what I experienced the same or the memory of the same event now. So it kinds of gets deep and complex, but coming back to this quotation, I'll read it again. and I have commented on it very briefly. But before nature can be viewed as an organism, it is first necessary to break the hypnotic hold of causality on our vision. This is by Philip Lubin. Every generation thinks it has the answers, and every generation is humbled by nature. So our egos work in that fashion. Ego would never accept its ignorance or incompleteness. Ignorance will also not accept its insult or its inadequacy. So, every generation thinks it has the answers. Most people, most of our friends, we talk to them, they are very sure of knowing the problem and knowing the solution. And one wonders, if everyone knows the problem and solution, why we still have problems. So this kind of the illusion of perfection in knowledge, we all nourish secretly. So that is the suggestion in this quotation, that we need to come out of that mindset where we think our knowledge is complete and perfect, because we will be forced to change our mind. How? Every generation is humbled by nature. So every generation in the past at their time thought that they have figured out everything, figured out all the answers. But then, over time, even next moment or next year, next decade, next generation, we find, well, what we thought was the problem is actually not the main problem. Main problem is somewhere else which we did not know. And now we are better educated, we are more intelligent. And now we know. And then people act, problems remain, and the next generation is struggling with the same problem. So obviously there is something missing. And what I feel is missing is the level of intelligence, expansion of mind, flexibility, adaptability of our convictions, mind, and our actions. So as long as we continue to learn and get deeper understanding of nature, we will become more intelligent, we will know nature better. And that is the only path to progress and reducing the effect of all the negativity around us and being able to change the quality of life and the level of our civilization. This is a proverb. Hope is nature's way of letting us survive, so that we can discover nature itself. So nature gives us hope, and we ourselves give illusion of perfection in knowledge. Nature gives us hope. Keep trying, keep learning. So hope is nature's way of letting us survive, because without hope, in a hopeless, distressed, stressful situation, we lose hope that things will improve, I will flourish, and even survive. But nature gives us hope so that we can discover nature itself. And with hope, we strive, we discover additional part, another dimension of nature. Hua Hu Jing. If you can seize all restless activity, your integral nature will appear. So the suggestion here is that when mind is restless, disturbed, scattered with conflicting, contradictory thoughts and ideas, we cannot know our integral nature, which means integral nature, that which is integrated as a whole unit, as a whole organism. So if you cease all restless activity, your integral nature will appear. So this is an invitation to remove restlessness and reach restfulness. This one is by Leonardo da Vinci. If you do not rest upon the good foundation of nature, you will toil with much labor and less profit. So the first part of quotation is, if you do not rest upon good foundation of nature, which means good foundation of nature is what? It is connecting with nature, in harmony with nature, in love of nature, in desire to protect nature, and continuous learning from nature. So all this is your foundation. If you do not have this foundation, what happens? You will toil with much labor and less profit. So here profit is not the money profit. You will have to work harder and your effort will not be that successful if you are not founded well in nature. If you do not rest upon the good foundation of nature, you will toil with much labor and less profit. Harold Puthoff. Interaction in the domain of nature as well as of mind are mediated by the fundamental information field at the heart of the universe. So this field, fundamental, that is nature, is at the heart of universe. In other words, no matter where you go, whenever you go, that you encounter nature. There is a nature of galaxies, nature of stars, nature of expansion of the universe, nature of light's movement, nature of energy and its movement, nature of how matter is formed, what shape it takes. All that is within the real domain of nature. And the more we connect with it, the more we feel we are part of it, we learn and we elevate ourselves. Very simple and clear message from Albert Einstein. Look deep, deep into nature. Look deep, deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. No comment needed here. Rachel Carson. Very simple, straight warning for all of us. Man is part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself. I repeat, man is part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself. Very encouraging statement by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nature arms each man with some faculty which enables him to do easily feats impossible to any other. So let me just clarify one or two points. One is that nature gives us the capability to excel, to do something unique which no one else can do. And nature is vast enough that each one of us have that unique capability to do the best, and that best is different from anybody else doing the same thing, because everybody else can do something different. So nature is vast, possibilities are endless, potential is limitless. We somehow tend to fall short and we underestimate our capability. That is our main defect. This is a very simple but nice social activity and suggestion to consider from Epictetus. Epictetus. He's saying that nature has given men one tongue but 2 ears, so that we may hear from others twice as much as we speak. There is something more subtle here, that in speaking, we spend a lot of energy. In listening, we also spend energy, but a little less, because only our subtle mind is working. Only brains is working. In speaking, our brain, our tongue, our throat, our nose, lips, everything is working. So it's hard work. Speaking is hard work. Listening and understanding is easier. That is the message. Nature has given men one tongue but 2 ears, so that we may hear from others twice as much as we speak. Joseph C. Pierce. Nature shifts from an emphasis on physical survival to an emphasis on intellectual enhancement whenever she gets a chance. So if you compare all animal forms, most animals don't really worry about and they get anxious about survival. When they're hungry, they go and find food and they are okay. Humans are different. Humans are a little bit more complicated. They plan and they think and strategize and get all kinds of emotions and mental afflictions. All this we go through and we forget. We overlook the opportunities in front of us. Survival for humans should not be the main goal in life. Unfortunately, when we look around, a lot of people are struggling for survival. That is very sad for humanity as a whole. So nature shifts from an emphasis on physical survival to an emphasis on individual enhancement whenever she gets a chance. So let us give nature a chance to elevate us from the level of physical survival to intellectual enhancement. F. David Peat. Nature, therefore, is somewhat like a ballet dancer, the meaning of whose gestures are contained in the whole movement. In other words, nature is an integrated wholesomeness, and it is not that any part of nature in particular is expressing something or trying to tell you something. No, the whole nature as a ballet dancer, the whole movement, all the gestures combined are giving you message. Let us read those messages, imbibe them, and grow with them. Mikhail Naimi. Tall and stately trees do not make up a forest. Some underbrush and clinging vine are always necessary. In other words, when we try to visualize nature, it is not a few prominent aspects, prominent objects in nature that make up in nature. There are small vines, bushes, grass, insects, all those put together, rivers, mountains, all that is nature. Not only that, we look at all around and see a few tall trees and we say, yeah, this is jungle, this is nature, this is forest. There is a lot more than meets the eye. That is the message. Tall and stately trees do not make up a forest. Some underbrush and clinging vine are also necessary. This quotation is by Sai Baba. The lotus on the lake is far, far away from the sun. The lotus on the lake is far, far away from the sun. But distance is no bar for the dawn of love. The lotus blooms as soon as the sun peeps over the horizon. In other words, despite the far distances, things are connected, not only connected, they have instant reaction. One is affecting the other, far away, long time, long distance away. They are still interconnected. So that is a message we keep hearing from these great men and women. The lotus on the lake is far, far away from the sun, but distance is no bar for the dawn of love. The lotus blooms as soon as sun peeps over the horizon. This one is short and deep by Michael Talbot. The supernatural is just the natural, not yet understood. So a lot of things we call supernatural, we do not know how and why it happened at this time. Anything unexpected, not only unexpected, but a huge event takes place and we don't understand. Or we meet someone who is extraordinary, brilliant, and he says something and after some time that happens. That is supernatural. Or something what you consider natural and logical and causality, based on causality. That is not the nature he's talking about. He's saying what you consider supernatural, which means you do not understand how it works, how it happened, why it happened. So he's saying that the supernatural is just the natural, not yet understood. So the more you understand, the more of supernatural appears natural to you. Stuart Edward White. When a seed or an animal or a man is ripe, when a seed or an animal or a man is ripe, it must mature to the next phase. When a seed or an animal or a man is ripe, it must mature to the next phase or rot. So this is kind of evolutionary approach, understanding of nature, where things evolve, one thing transforms into another, something more complex, more advanced. That is the general tendency. Sometimes there are exceptions, but in general, this is found to be true. When a seed or an animal or a man is ripe, it must mature to the next phase or rot. Because if things don't grow, don't evolve, they rot and they disappear, they extinguish. They are forgotten, they are left behind, they are extinguished. That species disappears from the tree of life because it failed to evolve and grow and mature. So it's very simple but powerful message. When a seed or an animal or a man is ripe, it must mature to the next phase or rot. Erwin Laszlo. When the seekers come close to attaining their goal, their descriptions of what they regard as the supreme principle of existence are strikingly similar. Now, to put in a very simpler form, is that when a lot of seekers, many seekers, those who are seeking higher knowledge, the truth, higher knowledge of the truth, and becoming that knowledge of the truth. So when they all are on their journey, and they may not even know one another, they may be at different faraway places, but as they get closer to the truth, the supreme principles of existence that they begin to discover are getting more and more similar. In other words, there is more conformity as we grow, rise to the higher level of understanding, because ultimately the truth cannot be different from everybody who is approaching truth. It is untruth or lesser truth that is scattered all around, and we are happy with pieces of it. As we move higher and higher, the distinctions, the scatteredness, the variety, the diversity begins to slowly and slowly merge. And all great scholars, thinkers, scientists, their discoveries, their understanding, their philosophy begins to converge. That is the message here. The last quotation is by Dhananjaya Kumar. Nature is very patient. She will keep repeating her lessons until we learn them. And this we find in our life quite often, that we make a mistake, but we cannot move on without learning from the mistake, because we will end up making the same mistake. Nature will force us to make the same mistake until we learn from it. So that is one message. The other is, nature on the other hand is kind. In other words, you may not perish because you made a mistake. Life gives you another chance to do the same thing without making a mistake. So there is both the stationary and dynamic aspect of this quotation. That nature is very patient. She will keep repeating her lessons until we learn them. Thank you for your patience, your listening, watching, and your attention. We'll come back, get together again soon.